Age of Wonders 4 has received yet another expansion, and the Giant Kings is an apt name, because the game is taking a huge stride forward with this release. In the forefront, the new ruler type. Giants are imposing ancient beings, smashing their way through battle and shaping the world around them. While these immense authorities bathe in the spotlight, there is a slew of other changes to make the experience richer across the board. The world has received an injection of content. Landmarks and handcrafted regions make this fantasy world more imposing, and fated areas add stories and histories for you to uncover. The lands tell a tale, and that role-playing angle of the game receives some love. It is accompanied by a hefty update bringing tons of changes. The Underground has been revitalized, players have more tools for faction and realm creation, and the big ticket item, Feudal, has been taken back to the drawing board and returned anew, and much more interesting. Each expansion drags me back in, and this is no exception. It is a big one. This is Age of Wonders 4, the Giant Kings. But let's start with the main selling point, Giant Kings. Following on from past expansions, Triumph has continued their pattern of making new rulers more ambitious and powerful, and this is no exception. Your baseline warriors, mages, and even dragon lords will look like mere simpletons next to these towering titans. The ruler is split into 4 subtypes: Storm, Rock, Fire, and Frost. Each gain different bonuses, have their preferred landscape types, and possess tools to terraform the world to their preference. If you are big on terraforming playstyles, mix these with the primal culture and you have a faction that will not stop until the world is shaped to their liking. All Giant Kings have access to the item forge from the get-go, and have boosts to their crafting and essence generation. What's more, they gain bonuses to quarries, and their governor bonuses pair nicely with the Materium faction. But then again, the different subtypes compare with a Darkrun or Mystic or Feudal. They're flexible really, you've got options. No matter what you go with, your Giant King will be a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. You've got your very direct approaches, smashing, stomping, and walloping anything in your path, as giants tend to do. But you can also be a bit more indirect, summon weapons or throw spells and or boulders from afar. It is an interesting ruler type that can be twisted in all manner of ways, fitting into a range of playstyles. Though my first approach was to make a slightly smaller giant, and lean into my subterranean dwarf fantasy, which Age of Wonders 4 has never seemed to scratch until now. It's not the introduction of the Giant Kings that made this work, but a spattering of other changes that have revitalized the underground layer. There's new biomes, larger spaces, and more to discover. I always found underground play to be quirky, but ultimately it fell short, with my imagination doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and that would usually run dry by about turn 50. I'm very happy to report, it feels way better now. There's new landmarks scattered around the underground, and the mix of lava and snow biomes create distinct regions. With Giant King, you can change tiles into stalagmites and prospect them with Materium scouts to keep discovering resource nodes or raw production to be fed into your cities. There's a chance of a crystal dwelling spawning, a powerful neutral faction which offers quests, and a strong ally if you cozy up with them. Then there's the new tomes, which are both geared towards underground or Materium play. I want to highlight the Tome of the Dungeon Depths, which may well be my favorite in the game so far. Not because it's particularly strong or the linchpin of a strategy. It doesn't change the landscape itself, but turns provinces into dungeon tiles, which, while looking more snazzy, also provide bonuses to boot. As someone who grew up on Dungeon Keeper, this brings me great joy. So there's a lot here that improves the underground experience, and that's amazing if you are someone who loves dwelling in dank caves. But there are bigger implications here. The underground always felt like an afterthought in the game, but now it's more in line with the overworld, with its own unique bonuses. There's more reasons to go down there, and more reasons to settle there. If you ignore it, the empires who have free reign have a lot at their disposal, and an unchecked underground empire can emerge very powerful. But it's not just the underdwellers getting shiny new things. The standard map player has plenty more to discover. New handcrafted regions and landmarks litter the world, and these add a real sense of grandeur. On top of those, there's fated regions, areas of extra importance that trigger a story when you discover them, and following through on it and completing the questline will reward powerful artifacts. I absolutely love this. Like, really, this is such a great addition. Age of Wonders 4 has been my go-to fix for fantasy strategy games for a while now, but it is the factions and the empire customization that have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting in that. Over the past few expansions, we've seen Triumph lean into the roleplay side a bit more with events, happenings, and the likes, and this builds upon that. Not only are the folks you meet interesting, but the world itself is. The land has a story to tell, and it makes that exploration element of the game more exciting. Discovering something along the way can divert your focus, draw you away from your game plan, out of knowing you can get something very powerful, or just simple curiosity. Likewise, a landscape can draw you to settle somewhere out of your comfort zone to acquire its benefits, bringing you into contact with rival empires sooner and creating heated areas that everyone wants a piece of. Same as with the underground rework, this has big implications. Front and center of the expansion are these giant kings, but the changes to the world and the underground are what steals the show for me. There's a lot to take in. A lot of it is immediately obvious, certain parts are a slow burn and will add to games little by little. As is the norm for these expansions, it's accompanied by a free update, and this is suitably named the Ogre Update, because it's a bit of a beast. Some of the changes I've mentioned so far to the underground update are part of this, mainly the different biomes and sizing change, as well as a rework to lava, how it works, and new ways to take advantage of it. There's also new adventure sets in older wonders, and variety added to combat maps, which should result in players seeing less of the same. Players have some new tools at their disposal in the faction creator, and different ways to customize their games. Choose which factions or tweak which lord types appear if you want a bit more control, or make use of the additional realm slots if you want to lean into the chaos. Sieging has also been reworked. Siege projects have been changed across the board, and defenders can no longer come and go as they please, which was always a little bit silly. Now, besieged units can sally out, attacking their foes head-on if they want to break through. The aim is to make sieges more intense, higher stakes, and you can't just slip in and out with a little "look over there" trick to distract the enemy army. There's a lot coming with the update, and that's without the main course, the feudal rework. This is something I know fans have been clamoring for a while. With other cultures being added or reworked, feudal definitely fell behind and became increasingly dull with each edition. But finally, they've received some love. There's balances and changes across the board, but the main thing is hewing the playstyle in two. You've got Monarchy, which focuses on your throne city and feels like the closest evolution of the old system. Then there's Aristocracy, which goes off book. Soldiers trained in a city are tied to that house, and if they're led by that city's governor, well, that's good. This means you can't just throw all your units together and muddle them around. Instead, you have to be a bit more deliberate in where your armies come from, and you can't just have one city pumping out units, you will have to spread your focus. It's a really interesting playstyle, and it gives feudal a sense of personality, meaning it is more in line with the newer cultures, and I am keen to play around with it more. And again, that is not an expansion edition. It's part of the Ogre update, and this is just the cliff notes. There is just a ton of stuff in there. It's the way it goes. A bunch of goodies if you want the premium package, but those who've only bought into the base game, you are still getting a hefty amount of content. It is the norm in the genre now. Ongoing support for the base game with ongoing DLC. Triumph are not doing anything revolutionary there. But I will say, the amount of work they put into the base game and the size of the improvements they've made, they are knocking it out the park. Every edition the game gets, it provides what Age of Wonders 4 already has tons of. Options, possibilities, new tools for the player to tailor their own creations. Opening up the underground and making it more viable has added a bunch more stuff to my list of things to try. One being, taking advantage of the cheap spear unit of the feudal culture, starting underground, and leaning into the chaos tree. And you have all you need to unleash a Skaven Vermintide onto the world. But what about you? These new changes, the new additions both paid and free, what kind of builds are you excited to try? For any particularly neat ideas, I might even make them myself as an AI faction to wail on with my Skaven slaves. If you've ever wanted a comment turned into a fantasy race and poked with a sharp stick, now's your chance. If you've enjoyed your time here, be sure to subscribe to catch more strategy content from me weekly, as well as a load of other stuff on the channel. And if you want to see more Age of Wonders in particular, let me know. It is always a good time making videos on this game. But anyway, this has been Age of Wonders 4: The Giant Kings. A huge stride forward, and a great game gets even greater.